Literally, Caitlin Clark on a heater being told not to shoot. Not to shoot on a heater. There's not one coach. There are 13 WNBA coaches. 12 of them, when Caitlin Clark makes back-to-back threes, want her to shoot the third. The problem is that the one that doesn't is her fucking coach.
Caitlin Clark just dropped a shocking truth. And now, Coach Stephanie White is in serious trouble.
Caitlin either need to get the hell out of Indy, or the front office need to make it their business to hire a new coach, man.
In a recent interview, Caitlin admitted that even when she's on fire during a game, her own coach tells her to stop shooting more.
For me, if I have 2 back-to-back in a row, I'm probably going to launch a third that maybe isn't advised by Steph,
sure.
But I got to get it up.
Yes, you heard that right. One of the league's most electric scorers being told to stop scoring. This felt like a bombshell to every CC fan watching.
I want all the Stephanie White apologists to come out, because it's very, very clear that Stephanie White is not the right coach for Caitlin Clark.
Now everyone's asking the same question. Why is she being controlled so badly? What's this doing to her game? And if it continues, what future does Caitlin Clark have on a team that won't let her be Caitlin Clark? Let's break it all down. On July 21, 2025, Caitlin Clark made a surprise appearance on the podcast A Touch More with Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe.
She's every ref's favorite, and she dresses like a CEO because she's a boss. Please welcome to the show, Caitlin Clark. Let's go.
It was during the WNBA All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis, and it started as a fun, lighthearted chat, but in the middle of it, Caitlin drove something much more serious, something that raised eyebrows across the basketball world. Caitlin actually talked about a recent game. She said she was on a heater, her shots were falling, and she felt completely in rhythm. But then, right in the middle of that hot streak, her coach Stephanie White told her to slow down, to stop shooting so much.
I would say more so professionally, that Liberty game. I feel like as a shooter, when you see 2 or 3 go in, for me, if I have 2 back-to-back in a row, I'm probably going to launch a third that maybe isn't advised by Steph, but I got to get it up. And then if the third goes in, you're just hot. I think as a shooter, your confidence just builds and builds and builds. It's just coming off your hand better. The rim looks big.
Wait, what? Seriously? How do you tell a player like Caitlin Clark, known for her shooting range and confidence, to stop shooting when she's on fire? That's not just a bad decision. That's almost insulting to who she is as a player. This is not what you say to a shooter. If anything, you ask why they're not shooting more, not less.
But you can't tell a shooter not to shoot. She's gonna figure it out. She's going to figure it out. You cannot.
What's even worse is how Caitlin tried to say it casually. Maybe because she didn't want to speak up, but this is bad. A player like her needs freedom, not restrictions. Holding her back doesn't just affect her stats, it affects her performance and honestly, the team and the whole WNBA too. For fans, this wasn't just a podcast moment. This was Caitlin Clark finally speaking up. And they were all listening.
Caitlin Clark speaking about Stephanie White not really wanting her to take shots, but we all can recall Stephanie.
Backlash. For weeks now, fans have been noticing something off between Caitlin Clark and her coach, Stephanie White. And recently, after Clark's back-to-back injuries, the tension became impossible to ignore. But now, Caitlin herself has spoken up about how she's really being controlled during games. And just like that, the internet lit up. Fans aren't just annoyed, they're furious. Social media is flooded with criticism, calling out White's approach as overly controlling and completely wrong for a player like Clark. Why would anyone try to limit the league's biggest superstar, especially one with such a unique and instinctive style?
She would rather Caitlin Clark be the idea of what she thinks Caitlin Clark should be. And let's be honest. We can be completely honest here. Caitlin Clark is not good at being anyone other than Caitlin Clark.
One fan, Jimmy Henning, summed up the frustration perfectly. Smart coaches want the hot hand shooting the basketball, but not Coach White. Another comment read, Steph should run the defense and let Caitlyn run the offense. Limiting her shots is monumentally stupid, and these aren't isolated opinions. Everywhere from YouTube comment sections to Reddit threads and Indiana Fever fan pages, the same message keeps repeating. Let Caitlyn be Caitlyn. People are tired of watching her play under invisible handcuffs. They're starting to question why she looks hesitant at times, or why she's not taking over games like she used to. And more, they're pointing the blame at White. This isn't just about one coach and one player anymore. It's turning into a league-wide conversation about how to coach the modern game, and how easily the wrong system can dim a rising career. White's ongoing issues with Clark. And let's be honest, this isn't just about a coach asking a player to pass the ball more. If you look closely, what's happening is much more serious. It's a slow-building conflict that's now affecting the entire Indiana Fever and possibly Clark's long-term future. At the heart of the issue is control. Stephanie White is known for running a structured, system-heavy offense, but Caitlyn Clark? She's a natural, a rhythm player, a high-usage, instinctive shooter who thrives when the ball is in her hands and the game is flowing.
When it comes to those long shots, people are like, oh, she needs to stop shooting them. Like, you do realize 80% of Caitlyn Clark's gravity comes from her range.
The two styles couldn't be more different. And yet, instead of adapting the system to fit Clark's strengths, White continues to squeeze her into a mold that doesn't fit. But it doesn't stop there. Let's talk injuries. So far this season, Clark has already missed 11 games. And why? Back-to-back injuries. Groin, quad, recurring soreness. And if you look closely, this isn't just bad luck. This is about management, and when fans, analysts, and even teammates are worried about Caitlyn's body breaking down this early in her career, how does Stephanie White respond? She says, it's day to day.
Trying to keep her in good spirits. Had a lot of setbacks with all these little injuries, and we just have to take it one day at a time. It's frustrating.
Seriously? That's all?
Take it one day at a time. Ain't that the same damn thing you said last time? And Caitlyn Clark was out 2.5 weeks. 2.5 weeks, Stephanie.
When one of the most marketable, high-impact players in WNBA history is clearly struggling physically, vague answers don't cut it. Fans want transparency. They want honesty. And they want to believe the coaching staff actually cares about her long-term health, not just winning the next game. But instead, White pushes her back into the lineup too early. She limits her minutes when the team needs her most. And even publicly criticizes her playstyle, suggesting she needs to cut back on assists or shots. Cut back? That's literally how she became Caitlyn Clark. And you know what? These patterns aren't new. They've been there for months. And honestly, it's hard not to agree. Because this isn't just a tactical disagreement anymore. It's a toxic dynamic that's damaging team chemistry, hurting Clark's growth, and shaking the very foundation of what the Fever could have been. How control affects Clark's game, and just to remind you who Caitlyn Clark really is, let's rewind for a second. Caitlyn didn't become a basketball sensation by playing safe or holding back.
In college, every game I thought I was on a heater. But that's how I had to play, because we were either going to lose or we were going to win, depending on how I shot. So I shot 30 times a game.
At Iowa, she lit the NCAA on fire. She ended her college career with 3,951 points, more than any Division I player ever. She averaged 28.4 points and nearly 9 assists per game. That's not normal. That's legendary. And how did she do it? By playing her game freely and fearlessly. Clark did it because she was trusted to lead. Her game was instinctual. People compared her to Magic Johnson and Steve Nash, not just for numbers, but for how naturally she moved through the game. But now, just look at what's happening. She's being told to slow down, to shoot less, to follow a rigid system. In other words, she's being asked not to be Caitlyn Clark. And guess what? It's showing. She's already missed 11 games with back-to-back injuries. Her performance has dipped. And the fearless version of Caitlyn, the one fans fell in love with, often looks hesitant and off rhythm. So let's ask the real question. How is all this control paying off? Because right now it's not helping. It's hurting her confidence and taking the joy out of her game. You can't cage a player like Caitlyn and expect greatness. The more you try to control her, the less Caitlyn she becomes. And without that version of Caitlyn, the entire team and even the league loses. What's next? And during all this, fans, analysts, and even some former players are all asking the same thing. What now? Because the way things are going, something has to give. At this point, the franchise has two clear options. Either Stephanie White adjusts, or the team needs to consider a coaching change. Simple as that. It's not about blaming White entirely. She's experienced, she knows basketball, but she clearly doesn't know Clark's basketball. And forcing Clark into a system that limits her is already doing damage.
The team does not go anywhere without Caitlyn being Caitlyn. We know that. Everyone who watches the Fever knows that Caitlyn being Caitlyn is the only way this team even wins a game in the playoffs.
Because let's not ignore what's at stake here. Caitlin Clark isn't just a star. She's the face of a new era in the WNBA. She brings record-breaking viewership, sold-out arenas, and a massive new wave of fans. If her development stalls, or worse, if injuries pile up because she's misused, it's not just a loss for the Fever. It's a loss for the entire league. Some fans are already floating bold ideas. Let her leave. Trade her to a team that understands her, maybe New York or even Chicago, anywhere she can be protected and empowered. At this point, it's not just about winning games, it's about saving her talent. And what about White's response to all this? Sure, she's criticized officiating, but has she stepped up to actually protect her player? Has she owned the game plan that's clearly not working? Fans don't think so. They see the same vague answers, the same stubborn system, and a lack of urgency that's costing everyone. Truth is, this isn't just about tactics anymore, it's about trust. Clark needs to trust her coach. Fans need to trust the franchise, and if neither of those things is happening, what's left? Because this moment, right here, so we have Caitlin Clark finally speaking up about what's really going on behind the scenes. And that brings us here. If Indiana acts fast, listens to its fans, and finally builds around Caitlyn the way she deserves, there's still time. But if they don't? The cost won't just be another disappointing season. It could be the slow fading of one of the most electric stars women's basketball has ever seen. What do you think?